Okay, I have another boombox here. This is another beta, this one. It's actually a silver one. Don't see this one around that often. STW44. That grill's all sort of melted. This is your plastic fake expanded aluminium. And missing a few buttons. Be interested to see which mech this has in it. I assume it may be that same mech as the other one, but I'm not 100% sure. Don't know what year it is. Well, it's got a battery cover on it and good oh no, it's not a good antenna. This one is actually busted, so it's more of a parts box. I think the whole case is melted, so I wonder if that screw will come out if it's still in there. So it's had a pretty hard life by the look of it. But if nothing else, it'll be good for a couple of mechs and stuff. So we'll see what it's like. Obviously had batteries leaking in it again, just like every other one. So we'll have a look at this. And this may be another one that doesn't go back together, because this one really probably doesn't want tossing out, I think. Minus a few useful parts. Even that back bit looks like it's melted, so it's been close to a heat source somewhere. Oh, that's rusted, that screw. Are we having any luck? Oh, something's starting to give. What have I missed? One down there maybe? Yeah. Now it's loose, but it's not loose. That one got out, I think. Well, these screws have seemingly loosened off, but they haven't really come up, I don't think. Is there even one? It sounds like there's one down there. When I bang down there, I'm hitting something. So I think that's coming. Okay, we're starting to get there now. Oh, God. Oh, come on. Oh, yuck, that's the filthiest one inside so far, I think. Oh, man. Looks like it's even got some mouse poop in there. All green, so at least I ate some poison first. Got the power thing, whoops, on the back, which I thought they were going to drop out, aren't they? And that's filthy inside. Wasn't a good idea to do that with the screws. Now I have to tip it up and let all the muck out, so it's full of dirt and God knows what. So I think I'll take this one outside and give it a good shake out. There's actually a rusty screw there and a nut, so I don't think they're out of the unit. So this one might turn out to be the quickest video yet, but we'll see. Rust on the speaker. Yeah, still some muck in there. I noticed the whole bottom of it's badly scratched. So it's definitely had a hard life, this one. Doesn't look like it's been a builder's box or anything though. There's a little bit of varnishy stuff on there, but not covered in a mountain of splatters. The silvering's gone there. There is a bit of splatters here too, so maybe it is a bit of varnish or something. So probably a workshop radio or something. That door, I think, oh, it does actually shut. It doesn't really open. Absolutely filthy in there. This has got mechanisms like the what was the cheap one? Audio Sonic, where you can see the motor at the bottom of the mech. So I reckon it's going to have those same mechs again. That door doesn't want to open. I don't know if there's much point even powering this one up. I guess we probably should for the hell of it. Yeah, we've got two motors underneath. The belt's off that one. That's got a flat belt. The other one's got a square belt. Now that's a new one. Don't think I've seen one with mechs with different belts on them before. Assuming they're the same mech. I wonder if they've gone for different. Yeah, that looks like one of those cheapo mechs. Tanashins, or possibly Tanashins, or whatever they are, the earlier ones with the idler tyre. I'm not sure if the other one's actually the same mech though. Surely it would be. Why would they change the belt on it though? That doesn't seem right. Let's plug this thing in and see if we can get it some power onto it. At least there's nothing overly overly bad. That dirt looked worse than it was in a way. It all brushed out pretty easily, but still a bit in there, but it wasn't quite as bad as it first looked. Ooh, we've got LEDs on the front and I can hear the amp fire up. And I can hear it hissing. Scratchy volume. That's radio, and sounds like we've got radio as per usual. The knob just fell off in my hand. Yeah, when I got to the end it kind of wound itself off. That's rather weird. Or is it just loose? Oh, if I disconnected the antenna, that doesn't help. I think that just ripped off without me even noticing. No, the knob just falls off. It's got some washer under there that's falling off. Come on, I know you're picking up. No, that's fallen. Oh, it unplugged itself again. That'll be right. I don't think that holds on very well. That says test point. Is that not the antenna? Is that the antenna up there? That's it. That's definitely it. Noisy. Got tuning and FM stereo lights up. It's also got lights for record, dubbing and continuous play, so they're just kind of do nothing LEDs for the hell of it, I guess. That's sounding alright. Actually sounds quite good. And the volume control's only just scratchy. It's actually receiving really well on that channel, so it's got a pretty good receiver in it. And yeah, amazingly, given the condition of it, the pots and stuff are actually quite good, I think, and the switches. But we'll soon find out, I guess, whether AM works. Oh, sounding like it is. So yeah, that switch is dicky, I think. Handy having a knob that falls off every so often. It sounds like it's working, but it's seemingly not. Well, there it is, there's something. It's just good FM, but rubbish on AM. So, not picking up much. Could be there's something wrong with the... Oops, we pulled the power out. I wonder if there's something wrong with the... Oh yeah, look at that, there's a wire hanging off there, so there's your... something to do with your issue. I was going to say, I bet you the antenna rod's damaged or something. I wonder where that wire went. Did that go down with the other ones? Oh yeah, we got two wires ripped off here by the look of it, so someone's been in here messing around or something. That's one. Where's the other one? Oh, the other one's... Oh no, they're both here. I wonder if a mouse has eaten them or something. Probably. Well, it's doing well to pick anything up with that chopped off. Not sure which wire went where, but I hope I haven't ripped the others off by pulling it. Oh, maybe I have. Or the other one's just gone, so it's actually got here another one. Oh no, that's the same one I saw before, is it? We've got, oh yeah, there's a short one. 1, 2. Oh yeah, there's a third one there, is there? Oh yeah, there is. I think the other one just broke off as well. Oh no, we've still got one joined. Oh yeah, that's that one. So yeah, there's two coming out there, plus a third one. So that's doing well to pick anything up. Given that problem, I've got a rusty random screw attached to the speaker. So it's probably fallen in through the hole in the top. Something written here, 7th of the 1st, 86. 13th of 2nd, 87, and there's a couple other numbers. I wonder if that was from the factory or has someone been repairing this thing. So we've got a microphone. The tweeters are completely fake. Nothing in there unless someone's taken them out, which is not impossible, but it doesn't look like anything's ever been in there. Any sign of wiring? No, I think the tweeters were completely faking this thing. So it's a pretty dodgy low-end box by the look of it. Probably not much better than that Audio Sonic, even though it looks slightly better. 4-ohm speakers. But yeah, I must say the FM was actually quite impressive how well it was picking up, but maybe that's just a fluke. What's it got in a TA chip? It's a Toshiba, and another Toshiba TA668 Toshiba amp chip, a TA7232. So there's a few Toshiba bits in here. Probably just means they like the look of, or maybe they like Toshiba's prices on chips and like the look of their data books or something and just went with them. Nice and easy to build with or something. But I mean, it's got some quite a nice front end here, but look at a couple of trim caps there and stuff. The radio actually looks like it was designed to be, oops, fairly good. Oh, we found one of our broken or missing buttons, I think, floating around in there. But what else? Just something else gave away, I think, or probably the tuning cap. No, that shouldn't have, I don't know. I hope it didn't. I think the tuning cap fits into a tuning pulley thing here. That's what it was. It popped out of this square thing here. That explains what suddenly gave way. Back of the board doesn't look the best, but I think that's just flux and stuff. Yeah, more muck. And yeah, there's our... Oh no, this is these other mechs again, I think. I had a look online at some of these Tanashins or whatever they are. Tanashins, I forget how to even say it. And there was a guy showing, I looked at some site and then they had a link to a video and they had ones with these brackets on them. So it looks like they may have the idler, but I think that gear is different. So these are another mech again by the look of it. My God, they never end. I hope these motors have got a date on them so we can actually get an idea. And they've actually got screws going into the buttons, or going through into the other side of the plastic maybe. Maybe that's what that little, I wonder if that's what that little screw and nut I found in the bottom with rust, that was completely rusted away. But is this the same? It is the same deck, I think, except it's got a metal or aluminium flywheel with a flat belt. Different, I guess I had to put a different pulley here to there because it's got a flat belt. But why did they go to the trouble? And that's got a plate that's come loose there, the latching part. It looks like they're Mitsumi motors. I think we've got a date on it, maybe. So these are quite different. Fancy having screw-on. I do remember seeing screw-on buttons in a something before, but it's not very often you see them like that. I may well have looked inside one of these once upon a time, but I don't remember actually ever seeing this model before, but I wouldn't have took that much notice anyway, probably, but at least this will be interesting because it's different. It's not just another one of the same generic mechs, but these may be another version of generic mechs. They got the same sort of pause thing as the other ones I pulled to bits. Another screw. And that pulley looks, I'll have to find one of the other ones. I might have to pull that Audio Sonic to bits. So I've still got that one in pieces here, so haven't I? But that's not much good anyway. Now, do I need to open this door? Probably. That's not coming free. What on earth in there's holding that together? Well, they're going through the hole. Sure, that should just lift out. Oh, this circuit board's doing weird stuff. It's sort of coming. Oh jeez, it doesn't want to come out. The case is making weird cracking noises. Sounding like a deep sea submarine, and with all that creaking and cracking going on. What is holding this? It's just the wiring, is it? What have they done here? Oh yeah, they've got a really short wire from the motor, then goes, is that the motor wire just catching under this headphone socket? It is, I think. Yeah, someone's, I wonder if they've done that on purpose, but they've either caught it under there or done it on purpose. Putting the socket assembly in there to hold the wiring down, it was caught. There is a little thing there. No, I don't think there is. I don't think that was meant to be under there. Yes, this is Mitsumi motors. And no, I don't think we've got a date. 2400 RPM, 9 volt, clockwise, 0344 MMAC, 34E, 3SO. Ah, come on. No fun if you don't put the date on this. It's got the 13th of the 4th, 11 or something. That's not a date either, I don't think. So let's look at the front of these things. Oh, it is very similar. So it probably is out of the same factory by the look of it, but it's got this bracket. This is getting a bit out of hand, all these different mechs. I didn't realise there was even another version. Let's just have a quick look at that. Oh yeah, well the basic part is the same by the look of it. Same idlers, same reels. Now this was the one with the extended base, because it had the buttons on the front, so that part's probably the same as that Audiosonic one. And like I say, I think though I've pinched off this because I knocked it off the other one. The pause bit was the same, I think. Yeah, it's got the same slide bar. I don't think the other one had a... Yeah, so they probably had a bracket on some of these to hold the capstan in, and then they've changed it for just putting a clip on there. Someone probably realised, well, we don't need to put that piece of metal there, so let's cheapskate out and get rid of that. And yeah, it's got the same setup with the idler here. So this is probably a slightly earlier version. I can't remember, was there a date on that other one? I've forgotten where I'm at. I think that JVC was like 1984, so I wonder if this is a bit earlier. Because I would guess if that's got a metal plate in it, it's an earlier iteration of it. And they realise they can get that out of there, because generally they start with stuff in them and then they reduce it as they realise where they can save a few dollars or a few cents. But yeah, I think other than that, it's basically the same mech. The idler is actually in good nick, besides having white stuff all over it. Then again, I bet if I clean that off, it may not look quite so good. Rather rusty. Is that going to come back? Oh, it does actually come back. That idler isn't seemingly turning. That hasn't slid into its position. Yeah, something's... Oh, we've got a pause button here. Oh, there you go. It's just the pause button. So if I run that, we're actually getting... I'm going the wrong way, but we're actually getting take-up reel. And it doesn't take much to stop it, I don't think, but... no, it actually works a little bit. Let's rewind, fast forward, I guess, but I don't think they're going to do... Oh, they might work once I've got rid of play. Oh, look at that. So we've got rewind, fast forward. I don't know, there's a chewed tape wrapped around there. I don't know that it's worth even trying to get this going, but it's kind of tempting just to see that the belt just seems to have come off. I don't think it's actually how to get outside the capstan. Oh, it goes around that, doesn't it? I don't think that capstan, it might turn when you get the belt out from under it. I think that belt might even be semi-usable. Something doesn't feel too good there. Oh, of course this plate's loose, isn't it? So this deck is kaput. I guess I might as well at least see if I can get one deck going. That other one I don't think is any good, so I wonder why they changed. I still don't know why they've changed seemingly put a better quality capstan in it with aluminium rather than the plastic and steel one, and flat belt to suit. Or is that meant to be the record deck's a bit better quality or something? Automatic stop, tape 2 playback. So they've cheapened out on the playback only one, I think, but not by that much, I guess. Yeah, rather weird. Now, can I power this thing up? I might have to remove the power section, I think, from that backboard, but then I risk having 240 volts floating around. Where's the plug? Right down there. So can we somehow plug that in? This is looking very dodgy. I wrecked the connector. That's alright. I can sit that there without shorting it. The 240 volts, I think, is all out of the way. Ooh, I've got it in some mode because it's running. I left it in rewind, didn't I? Amazingly, that deck works to some degree. Let's hit the right button here. No way, that actually stopped now. I'm surprised that runs at all. Doesn't sound the happiest. Like it's struggling a bit, but I guess we can risk how dirty the heads are. Should I clean them? Who cares? It's only test tape. No, I don't think it's going to have enough to pull it through. Maybe if I give it a hand. Looks like another one we're going to have to scratch it a bit. Even the rewind and fast forward. Oh, we're not sitting in there, that's why. Yeah, fast forward doesn't actually run with the tape. Oh, there we go. Little slow. Oh well, now I've gone that far, I might just have to try and resurrect it. Oh, it's got hairs and stuff wrapped around the capstan everywhere. It's pretty insane trying to get something this rough going, but that's why it's fun. Always funny to see some old beta thing managing to keep going. Really need to clean that idler a bit, I think. So these should have the same idler size as the other ones. I wouldn't mind trying another one of those idlers after I had a bit of trouble with the JVC one. First idler didn't seem to work, and then I put another one in it, and it did work. After a bit of messing around, and those new ones seem to be alright. I chucked the one in the bin that didn't work the first time, but there was it wasn't always sitting in 100% in there and stuff. So I'm not sure if there was another fault in that mech, but it got running in the end. This has got some piece of glue sticking up to where the tape is. That's been there its whole life, I guess. A bit odd. Now, well, that spins freely. So I don't think the capstan's a bit, well, given the rust on it, how can the capstan not be iffy? And is this belt slippy? Oh yeah, it is. Even when I turn it like that, that's probably part of our issue. Well, let's have a look at this anyway. Might as well find out. Let's come in a bit closer. Let's see what we can do with this little mecha. Just quickly to, I mean, can you believe all that rust on there? This thing's even running at all. I guess if I stole a couple of buttons off the other one, we probably could sort of get it going. Oh, that screw does not feel like it's coming out. It's turning, but it's not going anywhere, I don't think. That's a flat one. Now, this is one of these ones you've got to take off. This mech looks familiar, where you've got to unscrew the eject lever to, or latch, to get that bit out. Is that going to just stay there? That bit's loose. Oh, of course the spring's attached. I'm going to have to try and force this up or something, because I think the plastic's been stripped a bit. Maybe I could do it by hand. Yeah, I think that's lifting with me pulling it upwards. Not doing the circuit board much good scraping the mech on it, but anyway, probably not doing the mech much good either. But this thing's gonna fight a bit, I think. I'll just leave that hanging there. Yuck, hairs and muck. Now I assume this doesn't have any sort of washer on the oh, it does have something on the other side, but it's not going to be one that holds it in place. Look at the cobwebs or dust or whatever the hell that is. Yuck. Yuck, yeah, it's got actual hairs wrapped around. I think that's probably slowing it down a bit. Get the worst of the dust off it. That is one filthy, disgusting looking mechanism. Oh, our piece fell off. So how's this one held? Oh, this is not actually clipped on. Well, that's the other use of that bracket, I guess, was to hold this idler assembly down. Does it just pull off? That's rather tight, I think. Oh, it's got a, does it have a spring? And it's just this bit at the top that was always a bit of a pain. It's got cobwebs and stuff on it. But spins nice and free. I don't know, it probably needs a bit of a lube on that thing maybe, but at least a clean. Oh, it's just disgusting, this thing. It is filthy, but amazing how resilient these things are. They're certainly not what you'd call flimsy design in that sense, because I mean, that switch looks absolutely terrible, but it still works. That's all rusted, yet these things actually move up and down really nicely, so even without any lube. So I have to say, I've got a bit more respect for this mech now, even though it's kind of a cheaper generic one. It's impressive the abuse it can take and just keep on going. So maybe we just need a belt more than anything. Guess it would need to find out what sort of condition these motors are in. I can't imagine they're any good, but you never know. Yeah, great big bundle of hair that was around that capstan on that washer. Now where is the actual capstan? I mean, a bit of rust on this isn't going to worry anything, but you can see quite dirty where the bushing was, so that would be dry as it needs a bit of oil. And this bit, oh god, that's terrible. Crusty rust and stuff all over it. Oh no, not that. Anything but that. Now it's gone on the floor or in my boot or something. There it is, I can find it. Amazing. Should have known one I would escape sooner or later. I was thinking about getting the oil on it, and the damn spring decided to make its run. Don't know why they're so desperate to get away. I guess if you've been stuck in there for 30 years or 40 years or whatever it is, you probably would want to make a move for it. Well, that's running nicely. Put that little washer back on the front. Give that a quick wipe in case there's any oil got that far down. Shouldn't have, but the motor sounds alright. It's got some lump of something on the shaft there. Just make sure that hasn't got hair and stuff wrapped around it. A little bit won't hurt as long as it's not down at the motor end rubbing. I've just took the chance to grab a belt that's slightly shorter than the original, and that seems to be fine. It's grippy enough. That's just how the eBay belt kit again, so it's another one that they seem to fit, so I don't think this belt would fit the other mech. I think these ones are a bit long, so might need a little bit of grease on this back bit. That's kind of sticky and horrible feeling. So maybe these have a slightly longer path, a bigger pulley on something, or the motor's mounted further away on that bracket. I'm not 100% sure of that, but I think it was different. I might just leave the... There's no point really greasing that, or at least I'll get the old sticky stuff off though. Let's see if we can get this all to screw back together. Was I going to bother? I don't think I was going to bother lubing that at all. Should be alright. That belt pulls on it pretty good. Oh no! God, they're frigging around with these things. Drop the screw off the screwdriver, catching it on something while I'm trying to get this thing positioned. There's no wiring to use. And it doesn't help having the camera in the way as well. Come on, you fiddly little. It just keeps flicking to the side. Why won't that bit? So that is sitting where it should. It doesn't feel right. It keeps shooting off to the side, this screw, and it's still trying to go on a weird angle. And I can't even get the mech in a good position, because this is quite a tight bit of plastic. But it's good that it is still tight, because I was a bit worried it had stripped the thread out kind of thing. Not that it really has much of a thread in plastic, but something to hold the screwdriver, screw in. Now where did this slipped? Oh, you got to go right down here, I guess, and get it over the thin bit there. Oh, you put the bottom bit in first, and then angle the top bit over. That's a flat blade, I think. God, I hate people that swap between flat and Phillips everywhere. I don't know why they did that. So it might be a resilient mech, but that is, they lose points for that. That doesn't seem to want to... Oh, it doesn't really move anyway. Why is it right at one end of the hole? That doesn't seem correct. Wasn't there an issue with this door? That should surely slide right back. But the spring doesn't really... I've got no idea what's going on there. I'll just loosen that screw again, because that thing doesn't come back far enough, I wouldn't have thought. Obviously it can't slide more that way, because it would potentially pull itself off, which sounds a bit rude, but oh, I know what I've done. I can see the issue, but it should go further the other way, but there's actually a little pin here. It's meant to go through a hole in that thing. I didn't even notice that. Can't even see it end on really. That's it, so there's a little metal pin has to come through there. You can just see it on the side there. I didn't think I had that right. Ah. Get that screw in. So yeah, it looks like there's a couple of different versions of this mechanism. It's basically the same thing, but they've changed a bit in it. So now I've got to eject. Let's pause. Yeah, stop eject slides that hook along. It should have a bit of range, and it goes back to the pretty much. It's not going fully back, is it? Doesn't quite. Probably. Well, the spring's only going to pull so far, I guess. Maybe that needs some lubrication anyway. I don't care too much about that. Now it's just getting twisted up in its own wires. Maybe that's why it's getting a bit short. Okay, so let's try it again. Am I safe to turn this on? I think I am. As soon as see if any smoke comes out or not. So still not a lot of torque there. Just make sure it at least works. Now what do I do with the tape? It keeps lifting up. It must be because my thumb's pushing down that end. Leaving a bit of a loop of tape there. That's amazing. That's still working. I'll just find that loop. Yeah, we're out. Sounds a bit like the speed's slowing a bit there, but that belt looks a little lumpy, so maybe it's not perfect, or something here is not. Something's going on with that pulley, I think. Why would it be doing that? It's not looking the best on this motor pulley end there. So maybe that belt is still a little... Well, if I try and stop it there... No, it does. The motor doesn't fully stall, but it slows it, and it... Dunno. Or is it something to do with these felt pads? That's almost passable. Not the greatest sounding thing, but it plays music. But at least this is a good set of spare parts for these things. Even though some bits are different and they're missing a couple of those clips that can be a pain, but... What motor have we got in this again? It was a 9 volt, I think, wasn't it? 9 volt clockwise. I don't know what I did with that other motor. I did have a good motor, but that would have been a 12 volt. Almost tempted to see if I can buy a couple of motors just to see if it improves any of these things, but I don't think it's really worth putting too much time in. I guess the other thing is look at this other deck. Yeah, the belt's going to slip. Yeah, I might even pull it out and have a look. Since this thing's going to have to be dismantled anyway, I think. I'll probably take the belt back out of that one too, even for that matter. Well, this mech's going to have to come out. Oh, we've got broken bits everywhere. Oh, that's right, this one's busted, isn't it? So this one isn't going to do... I can't get this one going. I already forgot that. Okay, well, I think in that case, yeah, it might be the end of the line for this thing. So I guess we're going to remove this power board. Even though there's probably not really much on it worth keeping. I don't think even the socket is much good because it's combined with a power socket. I think we'll just snip all this off. Nothing much exciting there. I can always go in the scrap metal bin anyway for the transformer. But it's probably worth keeping for now. Antenna's broken. In theory there's a good handle on this thing. If you can call that a good handle. How do we... they just pop out, I think. You just... Or is it actually got a... Oh, it's got circlips on it. That's actually got... I probably can't even get it on camera. It's got a metal circlip in there. So if I flick that out with a screwdriver... Yeah, it's just bending. I've got a rather bent circlip now, so it's only good for the rubbish. But yeah, you just bend it in a bit and it comes off. Same on the other end. Yeah, so there's a handle. Probably pretty useless, but these days I'm sort of a bit loath to throw these things away like I used to. Once I can get rid of these horrible... That's plugged in anyway. So this is actually a good design for a cheapo sort of box. It's actually got plugs for a fair bit of stuff. Except for whatever this stuff is that those sockets? It does go down to the sockets by the look of it, but I think we'll kill that off. Kill that off, whatever it is. Yeah, the antenna's damaged. Potentially there's a good amp chip there. Maybe a good pot or two. They may well fit something else. These switches and stuff are unlikely pretty rare you're ever going to bother trying to fix a radio, even if you do find one that's faulty, which is pretty rare. So I think I'll cut off this other wiring here too. So I've got a good mechanism. I haven't seen worth bothering taking the belt out. It's got some little circuit board here that wants chucking out, I think. Is that something to do with the motor speed, or... I don't think it's motor speed. I know a couple of inductors, a couple of caps, a very corroded switch there. These motors here, the wire goes into them, so you kind of want to keep the length of that. I guess that bit of wiring can go in the scrap wiring, that can go in the rubbish. And I guess the head wiring isn't much point keeping that either, that's just going to get in the way. The motor, I guess that's another one reason to get the belt off, is I might take the motor off just to get it out of the way. Oh, you can take the whole bracket off. That's a flat blade again. What are they doing with these flat blades? I guess there's no real point leaving the belt in there because it's only going to get wasted. I don't think that motor's much good. I must admit now I'm kind of tempted to put these screws back in. I was about to toss them in the rubbish, but maybe I should keep a couple in the motors in case I need them. Even those rubber mounts could be handy if they're still intact, because some of those must be getting to the end of their lives. That other screw can go in the rubbish. Oh, that's the... forgetting which one's the flat blade and which one's the other one. Actually, I wonder if I can just undo that one end one. It's coming out now, that's good. So I've fixed something on it. Let's just drag the belt out of there. I think I'll put that back with the kit of eBay belts. Just check it looks clean still, pretty much. No oil on it is the main thing, or grease. Better put that screw back in there, that might be useful. Whereas I think the other one here, that just had a little pushing clip there, but it's probably basically the same part on the mech. Let's have a look if the capstan's probably about the same. Yeah, it looks like the capstan's probably the same. Where's that other flywheel part on the idler? Yeah, it looks like pretty much the same parts. So that'll be a handy mech to have. That's one of the reasons I grabbed a couple of these not so good condition ones, purely just to... Well, oh yeah, they do have nuts on the other side, so I wonder if they came loose on their own accord. Basically, that's a bit cracked, that one as well. But it's possible they work their way loose over time. Looks like it goes the other way around. That would be my guess. Lots of people banging on these things and stuff, they probably just loosened off. They got a bit of lacquer and they fell to bits. Let's get that out of the way. Handle out of the way. I mean, ideally you'd probably just keep the whole box so you can pinch parts out of it, but I'll probably be lucky to see another one the same. I don't think the speakers in it are any good. I think most of it is pretty much rubbish. I can't see much point in keeping those sockets, even though they might be usable, but I'll chuck them away. Very rare you need them. Occasionally you may need to replace the headphone socket or something, but it's so rare. Of course, with the age of these things now, it's not impossible that it's getting more common, but still reckon it's pretty unlikely to happen, and you'd be lucky to have the right one. I think a fair few of these Asian ones were the same, but still may be lucky to get the right sort to suit your one. What have we got on a little circuit board here? It's just a joining board for the motor wiring or something. So I went to the trouble of putting the wiring into the motor, and then they had to make a little board to join it to anything. That's a bit silly, isn't it? Well, that bit of wire can go in the recycling, circuit board can go in the rubbish, that can go in the recycling, cut the speaker wires off. Might as well put the copper wire back into the system, even though there's hardly any of it and it's basically worthless. So I've got an electric microphone there. Not really much point keeping that either, I don't think. I'll just cut the wire off and chuck it in the rubbish. Now, where do I get to with the screws on this mech? So we'll see if it's actually got the same motor in this one. I assume it would be the same. And to be fair, this mech may not be worth salvaging, but I guess there's always some parts worth saving off. And I don't think the doors, I think the doors on this one have gone like that other silver one where they've gone all milky or yellow or whatever. Now one more there. So it's a bit of work to even strip one of these things down for parts. Won't come out easy enough. And we've got a pretty little LED board there. So have a look at it. We've got about 5 rectangular square LEDs, 6 maybe even. I would have loved them when I was a kid, but and they are pretty old ones by the look of it. So I wonder what era this box is, maybe earlier 80s. Oh, there's another one of these screws that held the buttons on. Not much use without the buttons. What were these speakers like? Do they actually have silver dust caps? They do. Yeah, these doors are kind of, if you were desperate for a door, but I mean this is not exactly a high-end box, and the knob's still hanging on there. I'll keep that. I don't think there's any point worrying about the dial cord or anything. That's one reason to keep the box, is if you ever come across one with a dial cord that's off, you could at least copy the one out of this one. God, those screws are tight. Now, I guess that's even something I'm actually getting short on screws, because I threw out a lot of the ones I used to have. So it's almost worth pulling these screws out to save a few, because you always need spare screws, even if it's just to replace a few rusty ones. Any of the rusty ones I'll turf out, but if they're in good condition, and I don't even have any spare speakers hardly anymore, so there's a few tweeters and stuff for hi-fi speakers. I don't think I've had maybe a couple of 57mm kit making speakers. So it's a bit faded and it looks like a bit of water damage, but I might keep a couple of these. And then we've got a couple of those little door things there too, haven't we? They can be worth keeping. I know I've replaced those and things over the years. Those little door greasy gear things, they should be, yeah, really viscous grease in them. So I might steal them as well. And I think, like I say, the doors can just go to the dump with the plastic case. So I'll keep those speakers. I guess at least this is one dial cord I don't need to care about. And there's a nice metal thread screw with a washer on it. So we can just let that fall to bits. There's a couple of other bits here. That must be where the knob goes on there, I think. This is just a pulley or something. Yeah, I'll keep those screws. We've got a little brass spacer. Piece of rubbish. That's a pulley. Don't think that's worth keeping. That's it, we've pretty much gutted this poor thing. Got a radio dial there. That's going to stay there, so I won't worry about taking that off. Looks like the speaker grills have been melted in, so you can actually get them off more than likely. So in theory I probably could have repaired this case if I could find another speaker grill, but then you've got these horrible surrounds. But you know, just thinking about what can be done. If you're really crazy, you probably could peel off the radio dial or that little aluminium bit. That'd be an interesting bit to try. And the good thing about these sort of things is before you chuck them out, you can practice a few recovery jobs of bits, like are they ever repairable. I don't think I'm going to get down in there without bending it. Yeah, it's just usually these things cannot be recovered without completely destroying them. So yeah, that's pretty well kaput. They're very hard to save, those things, because they always, as you peel them off, bend, and you can never get them flat again. Maybe with some special roller or something you could. But the other more interesting bit, this I can get under these if they're this sort of flexi plastic. But the problem is sometimes the glue or double-sided tape or whatever holding them will rip the paint off the back. So if I had another one with that missing, that could be worth keeping. It's not exactly in mint condition itself. It's got a bit of paint on it. It could do with a polish. But worth thinking about some of these things, because it's been a long time since I've worried about salvaging any bits. I guess we can look at how those doors come off. Are they just clip in? Yeah, there's a couple, I think. Do we just pop those clips there? Maybe I need to do it from the other side. Bend that in, bend this other one in. That should make the door come down. Oh, it just comes off. So it shows they can be salvaged. Yeah, just did one and it popped off. Hope I didn't break it. No, it's just the bottom bit just must sit in there and pops out. So that's what these things are made out of. But yeah, these are kind of yellowed, so I can't see any value in those. It's left dirt everywhere. But if they were in good condition, you'd keep those, because people do like to break doors occasionally. I've been had a good run with them. But anyway, let's have a quick look at this deck. So it's got a counter on it. The rubber bit in that motor's gone all weird. I'd say that I think it's just like a little rubber thing to cover the pot up a bit. But yeah, that's gone all horrible and sticky. Where's the pot? It's like another hole down there, and then yeah, that's actually causing problems. I don't know if you could even adjust that motor. Yeah, I don't know what that's done. Or is that, oh, maybe that's, no, that's not the pot, I don't think. Oh, maybe it is. Oh yeah, no, you can turn the pot. And I assume this one's the same with no date on it. Yuck, plenty of dirt on it. We've got a little tiny belt there. That's a bit different than that reel, I think. Same little idler. Well, the idler looks... Now this is different. So this is another version. Oh, look at this. It's got a great big piece coming up. Oh, God. Shame it's busted up, this one, but... That plate... Is it otherwise the same? That's got V1 on it. Interesting. I thought these looked the same on the back, but I might be wrong about that. Oh no, completely different. I thought they'd just changed it, but it is a completely different mech. Oh, even though I just looked at that part, I thought, oh, that bit looks like it's got the same teeth, zigzaggy teeth in it. Must be the same mech. I didn't look any further. They just, I wonder why they changed that, but there is, let's see on the end here. I mean, they got the similar holes there, but maybe that's not, yeah, no, other than that. It looks like they use the same motor brackets on both of them. But this whole bracket piece here is completely different. The whole moulding of the bottom of the metal backplane sort of thing, metal chassis, different. Yeah, this has got a plastic bit here, that hasn't. Oh, it's got a bit of black plastic under there. Yeah, this is a complete variant again. So this is the V1 version. The idler looks like the same sort of size tyre, so it may well come out of the same factory, but why have they made it so different for the record deck? This one's obviously got the hole there for the record part. I think in that other Audio Sonic, one was the record and one wasn't. One didn't even have the pause on it. I don't know that we're going to get much out of it. That lifts the heads up, and we've got this little idler which is cracking to bits. We've got a screw there. Is there any other way to get to the idler you can't get to? And well, maybe you take this whole, I guess while I've got one, we might as well investigate what the hell this thing is and how it comes apart. I've got a big spring under that bit and a flat one again. I think that holds that on. Yeah, that spring's trying to push it out and no doubt send the spring flying. That is quite a big powerful spring in there. Oh, that plate isn't that different, is it? That's the other thing I looked at. I thought, oh, it's got the same plate. No, it is different. And with printing on it, I thought, oh, they're going to be the same, but no. Get rid of that belt. Yeah, capstan's got a plastic bit on there. And this has had the hell bent out of it. It might be repairable, or roughly repairable. So it's got some little, like a Suzuki S symbol on there, and a 10 and an I or something. So what the Suzuki symbol's like, I think it's something like that. Not that I think this is probably related, but I've got some bigger pliers, those ones. That just needs, I think, bending. Dodgy, but problem is it's probably going to suddenly give way if I push too hard on it. It's kind of getting back there. Still got a bit of a dip in it. How can I need my bigger pliers, but I think they're elsewhere. Or can I force a screwdriver? Oops, I popped something off. Well, that might be good actually. If I can pop that off, I can almost bend it by hand, I think. Yeah, that's the kind of... now we've got bends going the other way. That's sort of getting there. What have we got here? There's a little plastic pin broken off something. Did I pop that out of there maybe? That's probably what I did. So I've undone those two screws there. Trying to see if this real part will come out. Well, I can tell you one thing, the idler is definitely not attached to that, but I guess you could get to it if you could get... I reckon we've got to take that screw off at the bottom. You may be able to get to it if you get that out of the way. So these mechanisms are starting to proliferate a bit at the moment. This is yet another... there we go, so you can pop that out. I'm not sure how easy it'll go back in. So that's got our other gears and bits and pieces, and then there's the idler sitting there, and that is going to near snap it off. Yeah, look, it just broke. It's got cracks in it absolutely everywhere. That rubber's shot. But that's why I was just interested in whether it is the same size as the other one. I'm not sure it is, but it's close. If we put the other piece in there, yeah, it's basically the same thing, I think. Yeah, I'd say that's identical. You'd assume they would use the same ones, but if they've come out of the same factory, which if someone's built a boombox out of it, they most likely got them from the same manufacturer. So I just wanted to see whether one of these other wheels will fit. I'm not sure which tyre it was, but one of these will be suitable for it, I think. Notice that just slightly moves. Can't do much to ease getting it on there, but I shouldn't have to do too much. It's not quite sitting in there yet. Got to get that edge in. I think that's going in alright. Go on, in you go. Is that in? That one might be a tad big. Or it's just not fitting in very well. Yeah, I think that's got it in nicely. It is a bit bulgy on one side. Yeah, it's not perfect, but they are around the right size, so that one might have been one of the slightly bigger ones. But I wouldn't be surprised if that's jammed in there good enough to work. It probably doesn't matter if it is a little bit eccentric or anything, because it's only doing the reels. Might make it a little bit of... Actually, it's not used in rewind fast forward, so it's only in play. I think we'll find these other ones, those two should join together. That one must pull down, that would be the way. And And how does that get across? Oh yeah, that can slide across. Oh, here we go. So that whole piece moves across, and that's our other one. So yes, it's not needed in rewind or fast forward, but I'll pinch that back out of there. At least we know that that kit I got from eBay, looks like they fit those ones as well. Now, can I get this back together will be the other interesting thing, I guess. That goes in from the back here. Which way around was it? I didn't take that much. Oh yeah, it was down here, I think, with those holes. Because I had undo a screw. Yeah, that goes where those screws were. Got to go under the pause bit. Oh, there's a little pin here. That was what was holding it. That's got to slide across. Oh, and then we've got the switch. I'm getting caught up in the switch. I should have cut these wires off, I think. Where does that little pin thing go? Ideally, I think you'd try and get rid of this record thing in a way. Is that part of that? Oh, that's the record lever. Getting that out of the way doesn't help. Probably hinders. Now I've latched it in there. Come on, latch, let go. It won't slide back. Probably because it's all bent. There we go. Oh, now that won't lift up. So this is another thing to learn, how this goes back in. What's stopping it? This can't just be that pin. Oh yeah, that pin's, there's a bit of plastic in the way. Bit of black plastic under there, yeah, that's fixed. So that pin on the end here where my thumb is has got to go under there. Oh, so that's all it needed really. Then you can see the screw hole lines up, but then we've got this pause. So that's the catch-22 I had to jiggle it around before. So maybe we go under the pause. Yeah, and we get it that way so that pin can drop. Then it goes under the plastic. That's all it is. Oh, well, that was easy. Easy when you know how. But at least we now know how on these. That's not the Phillips one. I thought that was the Phillips one. Well, that's not a Phillips one either. Okay, so the Phillips one is still here somewhere. That's right, I took out another one that was in the way. I'll just put this back together so all the pieces are there if I ever need them. This is the first one out of all these boom boxes where I've seen this. It's good to see some of the earlier 80s mechs turning up, because I'm still assuming only that this one is earlier. I think it would have to be. It's amazing how many of these boxes have really disappeared. You don't see a lot of them around. Especially these sort of generic, or these cheaper brands and lower end boxes. People probably didn't really care about them that much. Most of them would have been owned by kids and stuff who probably just chucked them out when they didn't want them anymore anyway. Not like there was a big investment in them like with the better units. So let's get this connector out of here. That's really getting annoying. Let's get rid of this wiring. I did have a box with a dodgy head in it I could pinch some of these out of now, but oh, that belt can go too. It's almost not on the idler, can go in the rubbish. Almost not even worth putting this back together, but that is something you could possibly want one day. Why the massive spring on there? That's crazy. Oh, it's coming through the hole now. That ain't too good. That is not a good design at all, I don't think, but anyway, there must be a reason for that. That's probably enough to hold this together. Almost looks like that hole can slip past the screw head itself, but one would hope not. No, that holds it. And I don't really want to bother putting a screw back in there, but was that the biggest screw? I think it was, so I might as well save that. Because these are the sort of things you sometimes lose. Assuming I ever see one of these, I don't really fancy doing many more boom boxes into the future, but you never know what will turn up. And you might find a nicer box with one of these mechs in it that is really worth getting going, and that's where one of these ones is perfect for parts. And I might do the same thing and remove the motor, just so there's not a big heavy motor hanging off the thing. You could take the motor off bracket and the counter off and throw them away, I guess, as well, but probably not much point making the effort. And I might put those screws in the motor. They're only really good for motors, those screws, because they've got a big spacer part in there to just a solid bit of metal in the head to sit inside the rubber mounts. Clean them off. I doubt these motors are much good for anything other than maybe if you want to start collecting motor types. HAAC, no, I don't think that tells you anything about it. I'll put the other one. Do they have the same numbers on these motors? Well, they could be out of the same batch anyway. 05, oh, that's an 0954, I think. That's 0544 HHAC, that's AHAC. 1455, 2400, M38E 3SC. So possibly different batches or different date codes, but then their letters have changed, so I don't know. But the fact they've, well, I guess the manufacturer would have put the same motors on them regardless, but you can see the two pulleys are different. One for flat, one for square belt. There's another one of those rusty screws. Don't think I need that other lever bit. That's just to hold the tape in tension. So I'll save whatever screws are worth keeping. So that's a couple more mech types. This is just a slightly different, probably earlier version with the bracket on it. Otherwise I think it's identical to the one in a couple of other units I've looked at, including the JVC, possibly that Conian one, and the Audio Sonic. And this one's a completely new version, flat belted, so again that suggests it's older because it's got a flat belt in it, which tend to be the older decks, and then they sort of went to all square belts, so I'm guessing this is probably getting back towards 81 to 82, something like that, maybe 83 possibly, because that JVC's 84, unless, I can't remember if the others had dates on them, but I'd say early around 1980 era. It's a bit hard to date the style of this silver box anyway. Doesn't look like a really early one, but they are hard to tell at times, so it probably is more 81, 82 era. But at least interesting to have a look at these. This one's kind of stuffed with a bent bit. They both rusted. Don't think either of these would be worth swapping over into another unit unless you're really desperate, but at least there's a set of spare parts there if you need it. The heads could be used in anything. Well, assuming the brackets fit, but normally they're all pretty standard. These aren't as deep as some, but I think the deeper heads just go through the middle of the bracket anyway, so they could possibly be okay for something. The pinch rollers, I haven't cleaned this one. The other one looks okay. This one doesn't look too bad either, but they might be going a bit hard by now. Yeah, it looks actually still good. It's outlived that idler. There's no cracking in it, and it's soft. So those pinch rollers might be alright for something as well if I get desperate, but I've got some new ones on order anyway. And we've got a couple of speakers. We've got a little mini boombox there now. The main components. But anyway, thanks for watching.